On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Chris Piper about how to market to all five senses. Well, hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hasseman, and I'm super excited to have my guest today. We've been working on putting this together for a few months now, and I'm glad Chris Piper could join me. He's a sensory brand strategist. Chris, thanks so much.
Kirby, thank you for having me on board here. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So, in doing my research about you, I was reading at one point that you'd said that traditional marketing is just not working today.
Right.
Why do you think that is, and what do you think companies can do about it?
Well, let's put it in context. So, yeah, traditional marketing isn't working today on its own.
Okay.
And so when I speak to this, I always want to make sure that we're not, in terms of our industry, the promotional products industry, as an advertising medium, we're not here to cannibalize traditional marketing.
Right.
Okay. Our role is to add value to it. How can we help extend those traditional marketing campaigns or those advertising mediums?
Mm-hmm.
So what I go into is that promotional products are really the only form of advertising that your customer or your customer's customer can see, touch, hear, taste, and smell.
Right.
And with the other advertising mediums, they're very one-dimensional. And so we want to be able to get out of the clutter, have your customers get that brand out of the clutter and put something right there on their desk or on their person or at the extension of their hand or on their back. Mm-hmm. And make sure that that campaign and that product are aligning so that there's brand, there's correct messaging, and so long after those advertising mediums are gone, the print, the electronic, the social, digital marketing, what have you, are gone, we still have that product that's extending the brand message that was going on in the campaign. And the other component is what are we doing to help drive participation or motivate those recipients to take action when they see that billboard, or when they to drive traffic into an office. When they get something, we want to be able to motivate them to go somewhere so they can work hand in hand. We can direct them to a social media platform page. We can direct them, or the newspaper can direct them to somewhere else. I mean, there's a lot of things there. So we just want to be able to add a promotional product to the media mix, print and television, good impression of the brand.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I always say that one of the things I think promo does really well is it affects human behavior, right? Whatever you want somebody to do, promo is a good way to affect them to do it, whether it's safe working, whether it's purchasing something, whatever. So I think it sounds like you agree.
Oh, completely. I mean, it's like I think you're saying, it's really hitting the emotions. I mean, it's a personalized gift that engages, your audience in such a way that, they'll actually see and remember it. Yeah. And that's where we want to complement that traditional advertising component.
Well, cool. So you're a speaker and a trainer. And so, if you're like me, it's like you want to get a bunch of different points across whenever you're talking to your group. But if you had to pick one message to bring home to audiences, or like say this audience, what would be your number one message?
The number one message I would like to leave all of you with is the good old 70-30 rule. So that is about listening. So 70% of the time you're listening to your customer, and 30% of the time, you're asking more questions to get deeper into the conversation and truly understand what the customer's objectives are, what their challenges are, what their pain points are, really where they want their brand to shine, either internally within the employees from a retention program or externally.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's simple. I always say, there's always a difference between simple and easy. It's listening intently to clients. It's simple, but it's not always easy because you want to communicate. So that's a great piece of advice.
Well, may I add to that, Kirby? In the sense that we're really in terms of where I speak, I'm speaking not only to the end buyer in sessions, but there's also as a distributor and our sales people, we're also, distributors that are speaking to the customer in a sense. In an end buyer group, my one takeaway for them is really truly to try and help them identify their brand with a product that really will help enhance that brand further. And as a distributor, really look at yourself as a salesperson. What is your personal brand? How do you want to go to market? When you're with your client and your client is taking you around to maybe other influencers or other stakeholders in the organization, listen on how they are introducing you. Are they introducing you as, here's this promotional products guy? Or are they introducing you as, hey, here's Chris. He's really focused on more of the brand sensory component and really tying in more of a strategy around all the senses of the buyer and our customer to help with retention. So really think about your own personal brand and how you do that, because you really want to begin to learn how to differentiate yourself in our space.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's actually a really great point. And it leads to my last question, which is, we all need to stand out, right? So whether you're a salesperson, whether you're an entrepreneur, we all need to differentiate. So what advice do you give on that?
Well, exactly what I just mentioned is really find, what your niche is and really begin to market yourself as such in that space. Whether you're really if you're really knowledgeable within, specific forms of industry, really market to that and utilize, some case studies to help build that. And then always try and create or pull testimonials, from your clients, so then you can utilize those to market yourself and show your expertise, differentiate yourself in that space. Yeah. I think it's really important. And I also feel that too, when we're presenting, one area to differentiate yourself out there in the marketplace from the other guy that's coming in behind you probably is we're always in this situation, and this is where I got into the sensory component of it, is we walk in and the client's always asking what's new. Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you what's new, but is that really the right product that's going to achieve the results that you want? So don't go in there displaying all your product and all this information, because you're not going to get to the meat of the meeting. Yeah. You really want to sit there and go back, like I mentioned, is differentiate yourself as a true listener in that 70-30 rule.
No, that's great advice, Chris. I really like that, and and also just the idea of being an expert in a niche. The riches are in the niches so many times, and so so that's great advice, man. So you've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me one. Do you have one for me?
Yeah, I do, and the question is, so in the promotional products space. Mm-hmm. I have found in when I'm being asked to speak at a college or a university for a marketing or advertising component of a curriculum, the students are always asking, well, how did you learn about this? Where did you go to get education about the promotional products industry as an advertising medium? And I have to tell them I didn't go to school for it.
Right.
I think we all heard about it, or we all experienced it maybe in a previous job. Like me, I was running advertising for a statewide business magazine. Yeah. I utilized branded merchandise to retain subscribers, to generate and increase circulation, and recognize my advertisers. Right. And I saw how powerful it was and how creative it could be. And it was all in that advertising, wheel, right? Mm. And so I just ventured into it. And 22 years later, I'm doing it.
Right.
So my question to you is, what is it that we can do as an industry and as peers to try to create momentum in bringing our industry into the marketing and advertising curriculum at universities or even in high schools?
It's a great question. So kudos. Obviously, if you want to recommend they buy the book Delivering Marketing Joy, I think that'd be great. But all joking aside, I actually think I'm really intrigued by what PPAI, our organization, is trying to accomplish with the Promotional Products Work Week and their new ad campaign. I really think, because your question is what can each of us do, I think the idea that they've built with this is that, we as the ambassadors of our industry really need to do a better job of taking a proactive role of trying to get in front of those things. We historically have been and treated ourselves almost as the redheaded stepchild of the marketing industry. We've had an insecurity complex, I think. Mm-hmm. I think that's getting better. And I think that it takes people like you, Chris, it takes people that are ambassadors for our industry to pick up the phone, call our local colleges, and continue to push that message out there in a consistent way and in a professional way. And I think that's one way. The second way, candidly, is I think as an industry we need to evolve by bringing, I came in here probably the same way you did, straight commission sales, right?
Right.
And I think, as we move forward, there's going to need to be a way for us to bring people in at an entry-level position where they can afford to pay for a car, right? So those are things I think that we as an industry need to start to move toward. And so, but as an individual, I think it's about getting out there and evangelical, being evangelical about the industry.
Being an advocate.
Yeah. And I think PPAI is doing a good job to lead the way. I think we need to just jump on board to a degree with what they're doing.
Yeah, and Kirby, you actually hit on a really good point, and I think it's important for all of the viewers and listeners of your show is, I think the takeaways I learned from you right now is that, we really need to elevate our industry,
for sure,
educate those that, like we talked about the universities, the students about who we are and what we do, and, even the businesses, but then engage them and really provide an opportunity for them to experience what we do. So maybe down the road they can see if it's something they want to do, whether it's internships. And the other point on PPAI, the campaign I think you're talking about is the hashtag Get in Touch.
Right. Yes.
And then at PPAI, for those that are watching, there's a resource there to become a certified advocate.
Right.
And really, to what Kirby and I are doing here is really engaging and bringing education to our industry. But PPAI really has a wonderful toolkit as well.
Yeah.
That will allow you to have the resources to do that. So I think you're onto something in terms of really reaching out, and all of us as peers to, get together and go down to our local university, college, and high school and share the passion that we all have for it, because it's contagious.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, Chris, and we'll have to do it again, okay?
You bet, Kirby. Joy of marketing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, this wraps up another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll talk to you next time.